بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد الحمد لله. We're closing up every single day to the month of Ramadan. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bring it upon us in peace and safety, and that Allah Azza wa Jal gives us the best of the blessings of this month. Just continued reminders about the month from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in a hadith Qudsi, where the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is quoting Allah Azza wa Jal. He says, قال الله عز وجل كل عمل ابن آدم له إلا الصيام. The first part of the hadith, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that every single deed that the son of Adam does, meaning every single deed that all of us do, all of that is for ourselves. Illa siyam, right? All of the things that we do, they come back to benefit us in some way, shape, or form, right? So if you do salah, then obviously you're praying to Allah Azza wa Jal, but we're encouraged to pray in jama'ah. And so the people know that you are someone that prays salah, right? Even in your household, your families, people see you praying salah. If you're giving in zakat, there are people that are benefiting. Somebody is giving you a receipt, somebody is collecting your money, there are people that are involved in every action that you do. That is an act of goodness. If you're feeding people, then you can only hide it for so long, but it will become known. Somebody will know that you're involved in something. So he said every single deed that the human being does, or the Muslim does, is for himself, meaning there's a portion of it for himself. Illa siyam, except for fasting. It says except for fasting. فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. Fasting is done purely for me, and I will be the one to give the reward for it. Your food, you're staying away from food, you're staying away from drink. Those two things in particular are things that if you are not participating in the month of Ramadan, you will hide, you will conceal, you will not show anybody else, right? So you're not going to show people that I am eating or drinking, right? So when you're fasting, you're doing it purely for the sake of Allah, because it is something that you can pretend to do and you can get away with it. You can get away with pretending to fast, right? You can't get away with always pretending to pray in Jama'ah. You can't always get away with pretending to pay your zakat because other people have access. There's some things you can that will be exposed. But fasting is one of those things purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says, I will give the reward for it. وَالصِّيَامُ جُنَّةٌ. He says fasting is a shield. فَإِذَا كَانَ يَوْمِ صَوْمِ أَحَدِكُمْ فلا يرفث يومئذ ولا يسخط فإن سابه أحد أو قاتله فليقل إني امرؤ صائم. Continue to say sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I am whenever one of you is fasting on the day, they should neither indulge in obscene language nor raise their voice. If anyone tries to argue or quarrel with them, they should say I am someone who is fasting, right? I am someone who is fasting. So utilizing the fast again to control our behavior and the way that we are acting. And he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَالَّذِي نَفْسُ مُحَمَّدٍ بِيَدِهِ لَخَلُوفُ فَمِ الصَّائِمْ أَطْيَبُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ مِنْ رِيحِ الْمِسْكِ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he swore by Allah Azza wa Jal that the smell that comes out of the fasting person's mouth is sweeter to Allah on the day of judgment than the fragrance of musk, right? Meaning that your effort that you put in, it also produces something that's not a pleasant smell, right? Your empty stomach produces a smell that's not very pleasant. But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is that smell that's a proof of your fasting is something that on the day of judgment will be sweeter than the smell of perfume and musk, right? Because that's a proof of the fact that you were doing something good. وَلِلصَّائِمِ فَرْحَتَانِ يَفْرَحُهُمَا. He said that the fasting person has two moments of happiness that they are extremely happy therein. إِذَا أَفْطَرَ فَرِحَ بِفِطْرِهِ وَإِذَا لَقِيَ رَبَّهُ فَرِحَ بِصَوْمِهِ. The first moment is when they break their fast. Right, so they're happy when they break their fast. It's a moment of happiness. You've been fasting all day. You celebrate your success, and you get to eat your meal after you've refrained from eating and drinking for a number of hours. And the second one, وَإِذَا لَقِيَ رَبَّهُ فَرِحَ بِصَوْمِهِ. That when he meets his master, when you stand before Allah on the day of judgment, you will be happy that you fasted. You will be happy that this was something that you did. And so those two moments of happiness, right? And they're very different. Getting to eat a meal, it's just, you're satisfying your nafs and your own desire. You're satisfying the hunger that is inside of you. You're purely satisfying yourself. But on the day of resurrection, when you stand before Allah, you will be happy. Happy knowing that you had all these fasting and this month of obedience behind you. And so you will be happy standing and waiting with to meet your reward from Allah Azza wa Jal. It's a hadith narrated by Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this hadith something that applies to us in this dunya and on the day of resurrection when we stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. جزاكم الله خير والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.